you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away, as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music.
Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope you're all doing well in the world right now.
Hello everyone, Stu here. You'll find out what this was. Hundreds of beavers. No weather talk this week because it's the same. But yeah, hundreds of beavers was something I didn't want to Google for obvious reasons. The fact that he was on our service of choice was a bonus. And it started.
Basically, obviously, the last 2 weeks we've done a bit of a film swap. You gave me one that you hated and you weren't sure if I would like. I've sort of done the opposite in one that I quite enjoyed, but I have no idea if you'll like it or will hate it. I genuinely don't know, because it's a silent-ish film. Like there's no dialogue, but there are sound effects throughout the movie. So it does have that hipster cachet, but it also has almost Bottom-esque slapstick physical comedy that I know you appreciate. So that was why I sort of came to you with this film, because it's going to go one of two ways, and I had absolutely no idea which way it was going to go. So tell me, Stu, which way did it go? I need to know.
Well, for context, I mean, obviously I love Bottom, I love The Young Ones, all that kind of stuff. Love silly nonsense, anything like that. And silly action films we've talked about ad nauseum over the years. One of my favourite films of latter weeks, I suppose it is a silent film. Tommy Cooper, The Plank.
Yeah.
Like my granddad had that on Betamax. That was one of my interactions with that format back in the day, and I loved The Plank. And Lauren Hardy, yeah, I get it. This, it came and I thought, oh, okay, this is very Monty Python like, which again I love. And then it started, and I mean I laughed several times throughout this. I mean, it's not what, hour and 40, something like that.
110 minutes, I think it was. So what? 150. Yeah.
There was times where I was crying. It was so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it was so painful to get through. And I think I was trying to figure out what it was with it. And it was almost like, Salad Fingers, the old web series.
Yeah.
When we used to watch Salad Fingers, it was what, 10 minute shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be it. And a bit like Angry Video Game Nerd, AVGN.
Yeah.
You watch that, it's between 10, 20 minutes per episode. My brother had the AVGN DVD back in the day, the compilation of it. And that's how that's the first time I saw of it. I didn't know anything about it at the time. It was one of the weird ones where he got in first. And I watched it. Obviously, I didn't borrow it. I just took it from his shelf because we lived in the same house. But I watched it and I got through about an hour and I couldn't do it anymore because it was too much of the same thing. And I think that's what my problem with this film was, that it was the most perfect, off the wall, crazy compilation of skits that should have been 10, 15 minutes, like webisodes, and not put together like this, because it just got too much. And it drained me. It drained me so much. I was almost falling asleep at the end of it, and I didn't want to be, because I really some of it was hilarious. Like, some of it was so stupid. I know we've got structure to this, so we'll go along with it in a minute. But there was parts in this that how do you even think this stuff up? I mean, what substances have you possibly taken?
Yeah, absolutely fucking insane. Some of this stuff, like, it's proper necessity driving the invention, I think. So one of the things in this film is that all of the animal creatures that appear on screen, they're just human beings dressed up in mascot costumes, because they had a budget of $150,000. That's all they had to make this film. So it was very much necessity being the mother of invention here. And because they never asked you to suspend your disbelief when the hounds were killing the rabbit, rather than the people dressed up as dogs mauling him, they just walked around him and kicked the shit out of him on the ground. Like, really silly nonsense that is so funny. But I also agree with you, Stu. This is an excellent 80-minute film that goes on just under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it hits that point when you're probably about 90 minutes in, you think, I want you to have wrapped it up by now. And then, like, don't get me wrong, the last bit's still funny, but it's just gone on that bit too long to make it, like, perfect.
Yeah.
I wonder if, because the film starts and we get 30 minutes before the before we get, like, the credits come in, I wonder if they'd have cut off that and started at the credits and just knocked off that first half an hour, if it would have been better. So the first half an hour is when he decides to become a furrier. So he's going to be obviously capturing the animals to skin them to win prizes. I wonder if we'd have lost that, because we know that he's lost in the woods at that point. So they can just drop us in there. We don't need the preamble, I don't think. As funny as it was, like, I did laugh a lot, but I wonder if maybe they'd knocked that off, that it would have worked better that way.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. It was, and a lot of the jokes were very samey as well, which is kind of goes into the, this should have been a series kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, all taking any part of it out is all utterly pointless. I mean, when it started with the prizes stuff, I thought, I shouldn't be shocked. Like, why there's a man in a cabin with a prize wheel, effectively.
Yeah.
And you find out is his daughter in that little fenced off area at the back.
Try to marry her off. Some of the scenes where she's doing the pole dancing and stuff out of the sight of her father, that just cracked me up. Because again, it is so utterly absurd and makes no sense in the context of the film, that it just makes everything funny. So, like, there's one bit where when he first takes the fish to the furrier to get eaten or whatever, and he puts that coin in front of him and he's trying to pick the coin up, but it keeps, like, his hand keeps going over the coin. And, like, that's a funny joke for 3 seconds. And then it's not a funny joke for 8 seconds. And it goes on 20 odd seconds. And you're like, you've gone full circle. It's gone from funny to unfunny, then all the way back round. Little bits like that, I think you get it. You understand how to do slapstick and absurdist comedy. And, like, those bits are just exceptionally well done. I can see why, like, it's got the cachet that it's got. I can see why that it made it over $1 million at the box office for a film that was done for, as I said, 150K. But I get it, because we don't get a lot of comedy of this nature anymore.
No. Well, the closest thing I could think of is probably Boosh, Mighty Boosh,
Definitely elements of that
Mike
where you can
Wolf
see
and
it
all that
being
kind of
made.
stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, that was BBC as well.
Mm.
So, but I mean, that was one of the most surreal, like face aching nights I've ever had when I watched Boosh live at the Civic.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah, very
I didn't know,
definitely.
I didn't know what to expect, and it wasn't that, and it was
Mm.
better. And I think that this would probably do really well as a live show.
Absolutely. Almost certainly. Like when we went to see Nightmare,
Yeah,
could you imagine if Nightmare was Hundreds of Beavers? Like, it'd make it a game show, live show. Like, this is the kind of thing I think could translate to so many other types, forms of media, and it would just be such a rip-roaring night. Genuinely hilarious in parts.
and like
One
with the fish, with the fish being knitted as well.
Yeah.
Like, it just like fishing for a fish with a snowfish on a hook. It's
Yeah. There's so many silly little things like that throughout the movie that are just, as I said, it's the, necessity being the mother of invention. They didn't have the budget to CG proper fish. So what's the next cheapest thing we can do? And it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
You could see when he was trying to start a fire with a log of wood, but the log of wood was clearly a pillow, and just little things like that when you see it, it is just hilarious. Like, there was a review that I saw. Hundreds of Beavers is not just a funny movie; it's a reminder of how funny movies can be.
yeah.
I just feel like so many films that we see, but the best comedy films that we see over the last 5-10 years, they haven't just been comedies. They've been tragic comedies. They've been, they've had an element of drama as well as, or even horror. They don't just rely on pure comedy. And when we do get comedies that are just pure comedies, like there was that film with Jennifer Lawrence that was out a couple of years ago that me and Matt went to see.
Oh, the love one.
Yeah. And they all fall a little bit flat because they're a little bit too knowing, because you've got Jennifer Lawrence in this position, and like that's just silly, isn't it? So this is silly, and they don't quite go the way that you want to. So this sort of went in with no pretensions. The aim of this film was to make you laugh, and I think it succeeded in abundance here.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the visual style of it? Because obviously it's unique, isn't it? I don't know how else to put it. It's a very unique looking film. It starts off with live action mixed with animation, and as I say, we've then got people dressed up in costumes. We've got the grainy camera, so it almost makes it look like it's filmed on an old-timey camera rather than what I presume would have been. Well, it might have been done on phones for all I know, because it's like there's elements that clearly show HD, but it's not the highest of quality. So visually, how were you finding it?
I think it was very clever because doing it with a whole sepia wash, which is, I presume, what this is, because it'd be the cheapest way to do it. It hides a lot of the stuff. I mean, a lot of the things being shit is part of the fun anyway.
Yeah.
But I think if this was just filmed, like you said, on an iPhone, and even in Pro and recorded on RAW and all that kind of stuff, it is gonna make it just look a bit too weird. Where you've got a proper looking film quality kind of piece, but with knitted fish and people in mascot costumes, it wouldn't work. So putting this kind of faux 1920s, 30s kind of grain effect over the top, and like in the parts where you have got the kind of the Charlie Chaplin kind of the silent cards up on screen as well in that little section, I thought it was genius. Really, I thought it was really clever.
Yeah.
And of all the things in this film that is just utterly ridiculous, that was an inspired move, I think.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. What did you think of the main guy? What did you think of the acting in this? Because obviously acting without speaking is so difficult, but his facials throughout the film,
Yeah.
when he treads on the pine cone, I genuinely winced when he trod on the pine cone, even though it was quite clearly an animated pine cone that he didn't tread on. I was really impressed with his acting. I think he did a lot with so little.
Yeah, the point comes when he's climbing the tree and he's just leaving the trail of them behind him.
Yeah,
And then even then, though, when he falls down and they go all over him, he's got a proper rubber face, and I think that helps, especially in this case. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obviously not winning anything for it's it's brilliant, is it? But being in, like you said, with no dialogue other than and there's a few lines, and he's like, "What?" That again, very knowing of itself. But yeah, amazing. I thought he was really good. I thought the daughter was really good. The game show man was a bit poor, really. I didn't get that.
Mm.
But again, it doesn't really matter, does he? But him in particular, I thought it was actually okay. Like in a kind of Charlton Copley kind of way, where
Ye
you see him doing something bizarre and you don't actually expect him to be a decent actor anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could easily see him pulling off some kind of HBO drama in the future.
Mm. Absolutely. It was the gurning at the camera, wasn't it? It was he knew. I suppose it's like going to the theatre. When the theatre actors act, they have to perform for the person on the back row.
Mm.
And I feel like that's what he was doing here. He was like, I can't do something subtle. It's got to be the most over the top thing so you can feel what I feel. And I thought he did such a good job of it. Because really, the whole film rests on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else in this movie. It's a one-man show for, 95% of it. So, yeah, I was really impressed with him. I kind of want to see if he's done anything else. I don't really know much about any of the people involved in this film. He's one of the creators, Ryland Brixton Cole Chews, his name is.
It does. It is.
It's quite the name. Looking on IMDb. So the project following Hundreds of Beavers is a short film called The Revenge of Shitters. I'm going to have to do what that is. By the year 2027, the shitters have conquered Earth. Humankind has won hope. The shitters are determined to stop her. Absolutely. I can't really fucking say this though. But yeah, it doesn't look like he's really got much else to his filmography looking at this, which isn't surprising because they give me the impression that they're like Matt and Trey were when they were doing like Alfred Hacker the musical. Yeah, that sort of thing. Like it feels like it's a university project that they've just knocked out of the park. It's got that air to the film, I think. I don't think that is how it came about, but it's obviously guys who don't have the connections in the business who have thought, fuck it, let's do it anyway. It's the Kevin Smith mantra, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I'm gonna ruin my life to make a film, I'm gonna make the best fucking film I can, and hopefully people will like it. And by all accounts, people like this film. If you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it has got a 97% critical score.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah, I
Like-
completely get it. Because it's weird enough, and it's almost like one of them things that if you say you don't get it, then you kind of panned.
Yeah.
It's like, what's wrong with you? You got no sense of humour. The usual kind of thing. And it's not, for once, it's not a woke thing, because there's nothing about this at all that's like that. It's just weird and bizarre.
There's no depth whatsoever to this film, really, is there?
No.
Like, I've got a bit coming up about the themes that it explores, but does it really look into any themes? It gives us situations, like obviously it's man versus nature, but does it explore that theme? I don't think it does, because it hasn't got real people in the movie. So I don't think you could say it's an exploration of anything.
Yeah.
And that's not a negative, because
Yeah.
it's funny as fuck in spite of that.
I mean, having a snow woman with massive tits is probably funny.
Yeah.
And
I-
tempting beavers with sex is probably a thing to bring up, but
Yeah, because he makes a man who sits on the rock next to him whilst he's fishing, makes a snowman. And then the next scene, he's giving the snowman massive tits. And that just killed me. But then the bit where something happened. He's built a snow bunny with massive tits, and then the tits fall down to the ground, and then one of the bunny ears falls. So instead of having massive tits, he's now got 2 balls and what looks like a cock. Like, that's always gonna fucking pop me because it's stupid enough that it's just hilarious. There's only, from what I can see, only 2 negative reviews from the 106 reviews on IMDb, both from Film Week. Can you hear a noise?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. My iTunes just randomly started playing Catbirds. I'll close that down. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, there's 2 reviews that I've got, both from Film Week and Decline. These jokes just fall flat, and it keeps on going on and on. I don't think the jokes fall flat.
No.
Not in the slightest. Wade Major, this could be a charming 10 minutes short, but 105 minutes, it makes you homicidal. I wouldn't go as far as saying homicidal. We've already said we think it probably should have been a bit shorter.
Yeah.
So, as I said, like, the themes, I've got nothing really to add in sort of terms of the artistic merit of the film, because artistically, it's comedy.
Yeah.
That probably is what it explores. What is funny in this world?
It knows exactly what it is, and even like the things with the wind and the fire, that recurring gag,
Yeah,
and even when they just rewind the footage.
yeah. It's such an easy comedy thing to do, and it's so effective because of it.
Yeah, and then like when he builds the things around the snow to protect it from the wind. I thought, that's genius. I thought, why am I thinking this about this film?
Yeah, it's superb. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that you seem to have enjoyed pretty much most of the film as well.
Yeah,
Like I said, I wasn't sure which way it was going, so I am pleased about that.
yeah, it made me laugh quite a lot, and it automatically goes into recommending it because there's very, very few people who get this,
Mhm.
and they are the Boosh crew. People who like Boosh, people who like Monty Python, maybe young ones because that is a bit surreal with the Alexei Sale stuff.
Yeah.
It's very in that kind of oeuvre. If you want to bring the big words out for a film like this, but I think it would. I think there is natural breaks in it as well. I think if you took it as you block this off, watch 10 minutes each day, you'd have a better time, I think. But it doesn't make you suicidal. It just ruins the whole thing because it goes on for too long. But yeah, if you had adapted the entire premise of the film into something else, the comedy is superb.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I think you could do this in 3 sittings. I think you can take it up to the initial credits, the first half an hour. You can take it up to where the furrier's dad says, you need to kill X number of beavers in order to win my daughter's hand in marriage. Like, you could take it to that point and then watch the end of it in, 3 sittings, I think would be the perfect way to watch this movie. Because I do think you need that break before the end, because it just
When it's going on
needs something.
the mad stuff with the wheels and all that kind of thing, where
Yeah.
it goes proper. Well, I don't know what it is. It's almost like Fraggle Rock in the end. I think that's all it's missing is animatronics, and then it would have been a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. They did seem to hit a lot of the a lot of the different or the touchstones, I think, of this kind of comedy. They did very much lean towards. And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. And I probably enjoyed it more on second viewing than I did when I watched it last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get that because it is one of them comedies, a bit like things like Road Trip, where you know what's coming up, and it's stupid, but because you anticipated it, and especially if you haven't seen it for a while, or you've only seen it a handful of times like this, I get that watching this next year would be watching this pissed up at any time is going to be a good time. But yeah, it's definitely an acquired taste, but it shouldn't be. I think it's only got itself to blame, the fact that it is for its length.
Like, yeah, it's sort of built itself into a niche as well, I think, because there are people out there who won't give black and white films a chance because it's black and white. There are people who won't give silent comedies a chance because it's silent. So it's like super niche, but I think if people were to give it a chance, they would really enjoy it. And ultimately, if you watch half an hour and don't enjoy it, turn it off, because it ain't gonna get any better than that, I don't think.
Yeah, completely agree.
Will this become a cult classic? Do you think people in 20 years' time will be talking about this movie?
Probably. Looking at that score of being 97% on RT, it's got proper room vibes about it, that you can see people dressing up as beavers, as dogs, as bunnies, as even as the game show man. Any of this stuff you can see people watching the screening of together. They're still doing it for Rocky Horror now. They'll be doing it for this, no question.
Yeah. It's got 81% for the audience score and a 7.6 on IMDb. So people do like it. It's only got 12,000 reviews on IMDb and like 400 odd on Rotten Tomatoes. So people like it, but not a lot of people have seen it. The Twitter account for the film is still very active and they're very funny. So
yeah,
if you are hanging around on Twitter, they're worth a follow.
I went back when you put that thing about the Blu-ray special edition being on there, and they were saying, yeah, this is not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, wasn't it $300 or something for the special edition Blu-ray that had been made out of wood? Yeah, kind of amazing. But yeah, they're definitely worth a follow. They're very very humorous. One of the better ones anyway. Right, okay, so that's us done for Hundreds of Beavers. Next up is The Ant Bully. I forgot the name of the film then. So yeah, we'll be looking at 2006 animated Nick Cage film, The Ant Bully. Join us after the break. Welcome back. The Ant Bully, Stu. Had you seen this before? I think you said you had, hadn't you?
Yeah, I'd seen it before, and I had it on. We had it on Blu-ray. Blu-ray. We had it on DVD years and years ago, in the same kind of box as The Shark's Tale and films like that. But whereas that is bad, this is obviously the better of the two. But yeah, I mean, I was trying to work this out earlier, like when this would have been, and it was probably like a couple of years after release when we got it, when my stepson was that age. So I haven't seen it for a long time. But as with any films with kids that you watch multiple times, this one wasn't one of his favourites, thankfully. So it wasn't burnt into my head like Tangled and Frozen were with Ethan. But yeah, when I watched it again, I thought, yeah, I didn't need to watch this again. I remembered pretty much all of it, to be fair.
Oh, right, okay. I hadn't seen it. Like, I feel like 2006, would have been like 23. Yeah, it would have been 23 at that point. I wasn't really watching family films at that age. Like, I don't really do it now, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, it wasn't one that was on my radar. And it kind of felt like we had a lot of films of Bugs Life, Ants, The Ant Bully. We had a lot of animated films about tiny little insects. And this one looked like it was going to be the weakest of the bunch, I think. In retrospect, having now watched it, I think I preferred it to Ants. I haven't seen Ants for a long time, in fairness, but this film ended up being a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Ants does not hold up at all. I watched it about 5 years ago. Well, yeah, it was during COVID times. I watched it because we'd run out of other things to watch. And I remember liking Ants and put it on, and it was not as good as I remember. And I think he was kind of the thing at the time it was the done thing to art. if you can't like Bugs Life because it's Disney, you got like ants instead. It's cooler.
Mm.
So like having a Mega Drive over a SNES, because Nintendo don't. But yeah, you're right. It's better than ants. It's different, obviously, because you're a little person. And that whole thing's been explored before. But I remember, especially with Bugs Life, there was the Bugs Life game on PS1 was actually really good. And I remember I had that game, and I quite enjoyed it, and it looked really good as well for the time. And I was surprised. Obviously we've got one now. There's one on Xbox. I don't know if it's on PlayStation yet. There's one where you are playing as like little people. I think in this kind of Honey I Shrunk the Kids world, but it's online, so you're not going to enjoy it.
No, probably not. No. I find like WB Warner Brothers, they seem to have like a house style to their animation. Like when you watch Super Pets and Polar Express and those kind of films, they all kind of look very similar, but it's almost like they exaggerate reality beyond its limits. So like
Yeah.
they make everything like it's the exact opposite to the Uncanny Valley. Like the Uncanny Valley obviously being where something is too real that it's upsetting. This is the exact opposite to the point of absurdity almost. So when I saw this film and knowing it was Warner Brothers, I wasn't expecting the animation to look as good as it did. I ended up thinking that the backgrounds were just incredibly detailed in this film. Like, the actual scenes that they'd built, the use of like light and shadow within the scenes. I was very, very surprised at how good this film actually looked. And especially now, 19 years on,
Mm.
I was very impressed with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have. Although the people are stylized, obviously, because it's a film of this type
Yeah.
of this age. But you are right. It's not. It's not saying it looks flat because these kind of 3D CG films can't look flat, really. It's got more care in it, and I think you probably couldn't get away with doing that. Like the bit with the shag carpet, how there was no reason for that to be that detailed at all. No, none at all. And obviously, it's just a repeated texture, but still, it looked brilliant, and it was on screen for what 2-3 seconds.
Yeah. It reminded me of scenes in Toy Story.
Mm.
And obviously, I know that Toy Story 1 and 2, I think, would have both been out before this. I don't think 3
Yeah.
would have, would it? Wasn't that the early teens? Toy
Yeah,
Story 3.
yeah.
I think it was anyway. So I know obviously we've got it, but Disney money compared to Warner Brothers money at this point in the world is extraordinarily different. So for this to be comparable to that was very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of my things that I didn't like about Toy Story 4, where it went too real.
Mhm.
They went too far the other way, where obviously other than the people, because that's still almost impossible to do. But everything looked real, like the cars look real, the environments look real. But this is not the point of Toy Story.
Yeah. This isn't the world you've spent 20 years building up. You've now made it a complete new world and you've kind of spoiled it a little bit. And I understand, like, I mean, obviously there's the talk about the new Shrek 5 that obviously doesn't look like Shrek 1 because Shrek was 99, was it?
It was in this.
Early 2000s, maybe?
Yeah.
So obviously we're a long way on, so technology is going to have improved. But you can't improve it so much that you're going to spoil what was already established there.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's where they went wrong with the Toy Stories. It was still a good film, but it just wasn't Toy Story.
Yeah. And whereas this is, like you said, 19 years on, it's got its own look. It doesn't look dated because it has got its own style.
Mhm.
And obviously you're talking about ants and people being shrunken by Nicolas Cage wizard ant potion, which is I completely forgot that he was in this film because obviously we were obsessed with him back then.
Yeah.
But as wizard ants go, I think he's still married to Crazy Cage as well, which is quite
He
quite
did.
a, quite a feat, really.
He did. Like, I mean, I know we'll get on to the good and bad in a bit, but like the notes that I've got for Nick Cage, you can picture him in your mind's eye acting in the booth. He's not reading his lines. You know, he's throwing the potion away, and he's doing what the ant would be doing if he was, you know, actually physically on screen. I think that's what the best voiced actors do. They don't read the lines, they act the lines. And well, we've said it a million times before. You can tell when someone's phoning it in when they're voice acting because they are just reading their lines. And everything we've seen of Nick Cage, he's a fantastic voice actor as well as just a fantastic actor. He seems to be an all rounder in those terms, I think.
Yeah. When you look at you look at his performance in The Croods compared to this, and it's almost the same.
Mm,
So he just
yeah,
knows what. I mean, you wouldn't put it past him to have like legs sellotaped onto himself to get completely into character.
that'd be super Nick Cage thing to do, wouldn't it? One thing about this film, so like, I don't think it's a family film. I think it's probably more targeted at a younger audience than everybody. Which is that a fair thing to say? It's more of an adolescent film.
Mm.
I think if you're like a, you know, a pre-teen to like maybe 13, 14, you'd probably enjoy it. I don't think there's a lot in it for the parents who are watching it with their kids. I mean, there's a couple of jokes. The Granny's fart joke at the beginning, I did laugh at that. When Julia Roberts was asking, "How do you know if you're a boy or a girl?" and then they imply that she sees his penis, and she says, "Oh, is that how?" That I did giggle at that because that was ridiculous. And like when they was using the pupa to shoot the wasps down, it was quite inventive, and there were some funny moments that I wasn't expecting, but did really appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole thing about how they bully him as well because he can't climb the wall.
Mm, yeah,
Things like that. So it has got a bit more depth and a bit more to it than you look skin deep. But yeah, I don't really know who this is aimed at because it's not like you're not talking CBeebies, but you're not talking secondary school either. You're kind of talking in that kind of like
the tween age, isn't it?
yeah, like 8 to 11, 12. Like just
Yeah.
on that kind of thing. Where you say, oh yeah, I'm watching the ant bully. You're gonna get your head kicked in. You say that secondary school.
Mm,
So I think that is what it is. It's aimed at that with, but it's slightly more adult than it needs to be for them. Maybe
yeah.
to make them feel a bit more grown up than they are. Maybe. Um,
Yeah.
and that's what it would have been. That's what it would have been. So what this came out in what 2006.
Yeah.
So I would have had it 2008. So Rio Robs would have been 5, 6, 7. So the perfect age for exactly what we're just talking about
Mm,
for when this was on. So yeah,
yeah.
so that makes sense. I think that's probably its target. Yeah.
Mm. Obviously, we spoke quite a lot of the good there. Have you got anything bad? Anything about the film that you didn't think worked?
No, no, amazingly not. I mean, I liked it before and I liked it again. I mean, I
Mm,
expected to find fault with it this time because it's been so long. I'm looking at this from a different point of view. But I just really enjoy this film, and I always have done.
yeah, I'm in exactly the same boat. Like, there's nothing really that I can say that was shit. That, like, even being a snob about it, like, I'd really struggle to think of anything to nitpick that was bad about this film. It was genuinely an enjoyable time, which I was not expecting in the slightest. Like, I watched it. If anyone at work is listening, I didn't do this. I watched this whilst I was working and ended up just stopping what I was doing and watching the film. It completely engrossed me. I was like, this is so much better than it had any right to be.
Yeah.
Anything crazy? I've got one thing,
I
which
mean,
is
the pizza guy being the stereotypical pizza guy was quite funny. And I thought
yeah.
the dial tone thing was want to be a bit like you know when they did the dial in Short Circuit 2 on Broadway.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
It reminded me a bit like that. I don't know where
Yeah.
that memory came from. Um,
God.
yeah, there's reasons that can't be shown anymore.
I mean,
I didn't know either. I didn't know for
Not a clue.
years.
Not a clue. When he was in an episode of Friends, and my mom said to me, "Oh, he was in Short Circuit," I was like, "Well, he's a white guy. That guy was Asian." Apparently not. Yeah, I never in a million years would have guessed. In fairness, I think if I'd watched it now, I probably would have, hopefully, would have realised that he wasn't an Asian person. But yeah, at the time, not a clue.
I mean, he's not taking the piss, though, is he? I think that's the thing. He's just being a normal person. He's just putting an accent on. The fact that
Yeah.
he's browned up a little bit. I mean, he's naturally dark anyway, so it's
Mm.
only it's just emphasised what he is.
It's not a disrespectful performance. I mean, coming from obviously two white guys, it's easy to say. It doesn't feel like he's trying to be disrespectful. Very different times in 1988 or 1989, whenever it was released. Like you just wouldn't get away with that now.
No, and there's now people playing different races in Ant film. I mean, the Cage being himself as an ant wizard is funny, and the whole thing about when they're trying to sleep at the very start, and he's dropping bits of brick on them just to find this element. Why is he doing this in the middle of the night? There's like things like this where it's just a bit bizarre, and the granny being a flat earther with the alien stuff.
2006 Flat Earth, that she would get on well on Twitter now, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of amazed that she's not got legendary status and there's fake accounts with her name and stuff like that. But yeah, the whole concept it's not new. Obviously, Grounded is the game. Grounded. That's one.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that. Yeah. Okay.
This is obviously not grounded in reality. But it doesn't need to be. It's just really, really good fun.
Yeah. My crazy, as a man who has got a crippling addiction to Jelly Belly jelly beans, when they came face to face with those jelly beans, they were like 4 times their size. Like, I think that might be my new kink. I'm going to find a jelly bean that big because, yeah, that was incredible. Absolutely incredible. So did you enjoy it? I've gone with yes. I absolutely didn't expect to, much like I didn't expect to enjoy The Croods. I'll probably never see this film again. I doubt I'll ever watch it again. But I'm really glad that I did give it the time of day and actually paid attention rather than, watching it as background noise. Yeah, 2 thumbs up from me. Stu?
Yeah, obviously. Said it already. Yeah, I really enjoyed it again. I'll probably. I'm not saying I'm never going to watch it again because coming to it from this point of view, it kind of reignited the love of this film that it was bored into my mind with back then. But yeah, really enjoyed it. More people should talk about it. I think its name probably let it down. This is not the best name in the world.
It's not, is it? It's not very evocative. It doesn't make you want to watch it.
But then, well, you could call it whatever you wanted to, really. But like, did you have the whole thing like when he gets his ant name, a sense of pride?
Yeah, like you did, like you felt for the kid. That was really cool.
And he doesn't have to wear glasses when he's an ant.
No, that's true. So we've watched 4 Nick Cage animated films. Yeah, both of The Croods, this, Spider-Man. He's not in the second one at all. Or his voice isn't. So I know the character appears right at the death of it, but so we won't have to watch that. So we've got G-Force left. I think that's the only other animated film that he's done. Is that actually animated or is it?
No, it's like the Chipmunks film.
Right. Okay. It's in the middle, isn't it? This, like, it's not as good as the first Croods. It's obviously not as good as Spider-Man. It's probably better than the Crude sequel.
Yeah.
I don't know where G-Force is going to fall because I haven't seen it yet. I feel like this is going to be the bang in the middle of the 5, though, when we get to it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
G-Force looks like it's going to be shit, if I'm perfectly honest.
I remember it being pretty bad, to be honest. But again, this is one of these things where coming at it from the point of view of being older and not really caring anymore, and not trying to put it this, oh, well, I'm not watching a guinea pig film, or whatever the hell they are. I genuinely don't know, but I've only ever seen it once, so it could be revolutionary. Who knows? But yeah, this is better than The Croods 2. And he's not really in. I mean, the whole Spider-Man noir thing, his actual screen time is not great, really.
No.
So you could argue this is more deserving of being above that. But Croods is,
In terms of Nick Cage, yeah, you're probably right.
yeah. In terms of nicknames, Croods, the first Croods film, yes. Then this, then Spider-Verse, then the second Croods for me.
For what it's worth, I've got G-Force down for September. It should, if everything goes to plan, that should be the last Nick Cage film we have to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, ending with G-Force.
Well,
May have to revisit that.
Of the list as it stands now.
As it stands now, yeah. I mean, I've got The Surfer in there already for the end of May, because I think it's out mid-May, so the plan is we'll try and watch it when it comes out and then get it watched for the end of May. So yeah, G-Force could be the last Nick Cage film, before next year. We'll see how that goes. I'm really intrigued to see if the guinea pigs in G-Force look as bad as the panther in Primal or whatever it was, Cheetah. But that's probably the worst looking animation CG thing we've seen.
Yeah, it's better than that. They look, well, from what I remember it being, they look all right. They look fine.
Okay. I mean, in fairness, the beavers in Hundreds of Beavers look better than the animal in Primal. Like, they're just absolutely appalling. Nick Cage, good or bad? I've already said, I was going to say you can picture him actually doing the acting and it gives it to the character. So, yeah, very good for me.
Yeah, same. He cared. It's obvious that he cared. We've seen films and we've talked about films recently where he clearly couldn't give a shit and he was doing it for the money or doing it for whatever reasons. This one, in the kind of the start of the fallow period as well, so he probably didn't have to. And he could have just gone on his name. So to put his all into this, fair play. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Finally then, Stu, if you liked The Ant Bully, you may also like...
Well, you mentioned him already, Bug's Life and Ants. But Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
That's what I've got on my list, yeah.
Yeah, the obvious choice for this kind of thing. And obviously Ant-Man. So there's not a massive selection of shrinking ant-based films, really.
No, there's not.
But amazingly, what there is are all good.
Yeah, they are.
Other than obviously Quantumania, before people say.
Yeah, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or do a double bill with Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one for a long time, in fairness. So I don't know if the sequel holds up, but I remember enjoying it at the time. So yeah, do a double header, watch both of those. I'm kind of sad that I found out that the remake isn't going ahead now. Apparently, Disney wouldn't pony up the money for the budget, so they're not doing it. Because I imagine it probably needs a big budget if you're going to do Honey, I Shrunk the Kids again.
Yeah, because you can't go. When I haven't seen either of them for a long time, so I'd imagine them not being what I remember them being. It'd been a lot of forced perspective and stop motion, I'd imagine, at that time.
Yeah.
I genuinely can't remember. But you are talking about photorealistic everything, so that would cost a shitload of money.
It would, and I mean, in fairness, I'm surprised they don't just throw the volume at them, because that seems to be what Disney does for everything now, is just make everything look kind of flat. But I was looking forward to that, and apparently now we're never getting it.
I mean, there is as well an excellent 1960s TV show, Land of the Giants.
Oh, Christ, that's a throwback.
Yeah,
is that like Sunday mornings on ITV? I think it was. Yeah, I remember because they used to do Lost in Space, and when that was off season, it was Land of the Giants. I thought about that for years.
The theme tune was similar to Thunderbirds. I always used to get them mixed up.
I can't even remember that, to be perfectly honest.
No.
The other film I've got on the list, Fern Gully. Obviously, it's about
That's rainforest.
protecting animals and what have you. So that's a sort of like tangential link to this. I remember loving Fern Gully. I don't think it holds up.
It's shit. It's really bad. It's so obviously a rainforest propaganda film as well, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but
Yeah, of course. But
yeah, the whole 80s acid rain scaremongering.
acid rain, that's up there with the fucking quicksand, isn't it? The whole world was going to end by either acid rain or quicksand, and like, we've just never come across it since.
Didn't exist. Yeah, I don't know when Goldie said that Avatar was basically just a better version of Fern Gully, and
He's right. Yeah.
I mean, Gully himself has never seen Fern Gully, which is astonishing. Molyneux Musings, if you want to go and abuse him on there.
I didn't think we mentioned his name anymore.
No, we don't. We don't mention him on Fancast. He's he can be bullied on it. It's like yeah, the enemy. But yeah, yeah, I watched Fern Gully in school. Bizarrely.
I did as well. I saw it at the cinema, and then like they put it on one afternoon randomly. I don't know why.
And they tell you, I was talking to Ethan about this yesterday when we went to Southampton about how, like, we used to get when we used to have TV days, or when they show a documentary, like in the World Cup in 2002, where we watched the England-Brazil game. So we got our A-level English exam moved back half hour, just in case it went to extra time and penalties, because we said we're not going to go through with the exam. And so they just agreed en masse that, yeah, it makes more sense to just move it back. Because obviously getting our marks bad, we look badly on them. So yeah, they used to bring a telly on wheels into the room and plug it into the wall. It's amazing.
Did you ever have Badger Girl?
Badger Girl.
Yeah, that was one that we used to have at Russell's Hall Primary School. Badger Girl was the show that they used to wheel the TV in for once a week, and it was about like a couple of city kids who went to live on the farm for X amount of time, and whilst there, she like befriends this badger.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I didn't know what it was called. If that's what it was called, then yeah, there was that, and then there was a show about. It was a bit like Nightmare, and a bit like really, really bad Game of Thrones. They had a dragon in it. It was The Quest or something like that. I can't remember.
Remember that?
It was obviously an educational TV show thing that they had on. It was my BBC Education branch, and we used to watch that once a week as well. I can't remember what it was called. I've tried to find it in the past. No idea. Badger Girl.
Yeah, if you go on YouTube, there's a creator called Rose Tinted Spectacles. Oh, sorry, no, Rose Tinted Spectrum, and they did. Hang on, I'm gonna see if I can find it on here. Right, okay, yeah, Rose Tinted Spectrum. Badger Girl was certainly something is the name of the video, and it's like a 70-minute review of Badger Girl. It's worth watching because you realise how fucking weird and borderline nonsense some of the characters were in this thing. Yeah, we were watching this. This is bizarre. It's worth checking out though, definitely. I can't remember anything else we used to watch. Like for some reason, I thought we watched Woof, but I don't think we did. I think that must have been like BBC. That must have been on like CBBC or something.
Woof we used to be on at 4:00, so you wouldn't watch it. That's
no,
what
that would have been a home viewing then, wouldn't it?
Unless like on Games Day or whatever, someone bought their own VHS compilation of fucking Woof instead of to watch. Or
I remember
it depends if it was the black dog or the other one.
I think it was the little black dog. That's the one I vaguely remember anyway.
Yeah, because they replaced it with a brown one later on. It wasn't the same.
Don't remember that.
Wasn't.
It just reminds me though about bringing in videotapes. I'd lent a friend the League of Gentlemen videotape. So this would have been 99, 2000. I think it would have been like one of the last few VHSs I had before like DVD took over. And like they returned it at college. And for whatever reason, we had no work to do, whether or not I can't remember if it was coming up to an exam or something, and it was just a day where we've got nothing to do, so you can either go home or whatever. And I'm like, well, I've got my VHS of League of Gents, and the teacher really liked it, League of Gents. So we just sat there and watched it, and there was like me, her, and one friend was just pissing ourselves laughing through, and everyone else was just looking around. Like, you know, the scene where Tubbs is suckling the pig. So where the pig's suckling Tubbs, rather, that scene comes on, and we're just in hysterics, and everyone else is just like, just didn't get it whatsoever.
Was the scene Papa? I presume there was Papa Lazaro scenes in there.
I don't think we got to those episodes because I think Papa Lazarou was season 2.
Yeah,
But
probably.
I can't remember if we were watching season 1, but we didn't watch a Papa Lazarou episode. But I mean, that's the way to introduce someone to League of Games is Papa Lazarou. Absolutely outstanding.
So I remember that it must have been at school though, because there was people going around going hello Dave to each other, and like none of the teachers having any clue what was going on.
I mean, obviously you're the year below me at school, so it could have been, in fairness. Because I'm just thinking it was college for me, but you're potentially right. League of Gentlemen started in 99, so it could have been. Yeah.
It could. Yeah, no, I left there in 2002, so it was sixth form. So yeah, it definitely would have been at that point.
Oh, we didn't have sixth form at Holly Hall or whatever it's called now. Pegasus Academy, I think it's was. Fucking shit name that is. Yeah, it started January 11th, 99, apparently. Yeah, did not know that. So yeah, that would have been whilst I was at school because I left in May of 99.
Yeah, so 2000.
Mm.
Yeah, so you're 2002. May 2002 was when I left there. So we definitely had Hello Dave-ness going on.
Mm. Yeah, you would have done. God, I love League of Gentlemen. Haven't watched it for a while. It's one of those that I think, a bit like Boosh, you'll either get it or you absolutely won't.
Yeah, and Little Britain as well.
Mhm.
It's one or the other.
Mm. I kind of feel like I think League of Gentlemen you'd show now and people would still appreciate it. I don't think Little Britain would.
But Little Britain was deliberately shocking anyway at the time.
Mm.
People was like, "Oh, you can't have this on." There was people moaning about it back then.
Yeah, I remember articles about the 2 old Tory women who used to piss themselves. Like, I remember at the time, like, it wasn't seen as being PC back then.
Yeah.
And obviously we've moved on a long way since. People laughed a lot. I don't know if it would be as funny now.
I mean, I laugh at it a bit like with Phoenix Nights as well. Are you laughing because you laughed at it back then, or? I really don't care. I laugh at anything anyway. Everyone knows this.
It's funny. It's funny. Like,
Yeah.
that's the barometer for me.
You can punch as far down as you want and as far up as you want. It's not real life. But there's, I remember there's bits in like I had Little Britain on UMD for the PSP. Season 1 of Little Britain. I used to watch it on couches on my PSP. That's how mainstream it was.
Mm.
That's the thing. I love Little Britain, but I never got the other one, Come Fly With Me. And that never landed whatsoever.
Wasn't funny. I think I watched like maybe 2 episodes and occasionally see clips on TikTok now. And this just isn't funny at all. The jokes don't land in the slightest.
Yeah. Didn't get that one.
As much as I like Matt Lucas, David Walliams does very little for me as a comedian. I don't think he's funny. And pretty much all of his jokes are, I might be gay. It's not very funny. Like, I don't get it. But yeah, I don't know if Little Britain is funny anymore. I think it may just have been shocking for 2000, 2001. Potentially. I don't know.
We could do that. We've mentioned TV comedy before, but we could do a deep dive into the things like that. And League of Gentlemen, because that'll be obviously with Pan now as well.
Mm-hmm. Could do. look at something from like the late 90s, early noughties. Don't say shock comedy, but
The Tom Green Show in itself.
mm, yeah, it does feel like, I mean, when you think like Jackass and stuff, which would have been a similar time, there was
Celebrity
quite a lot
Deathmatch.
of, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was trying to shock people into laughter. But I
Yeah.
don't know if it holds up.
Yeah, because you have a Dirty Sanchez as well.
Fucking hell. Completely forgot about that one. That was Jackass, but with those 4 Welsh lads, wasn't it? If I
Yeah.
remember rightly.
Taking it too far.
Yeah. Where like Jackass, I laughed a lot at, but with Dirty Sanchez, there's always that line of, "Oh, you're just smearing shit on yourself, mate." That's not very funny. That's a mental fucking illness, pal. Like, you might want to chill the fuck out. Yeah, there was definitely a line being crossed there, I think, with Dirty Sanchez.
But that's the kind of era where you think Hundreds of Beavers would land as well, going back to that.
Essentially.
If that was like a half hour, 20 minutes to half hour thing every week, or as a sketch in Jackass, or the Grandpa, which you had the whole spin-off film from that anyway.
Yeah.
That seems like its natural place.
I'm just looking at the schedule for the rest of the year. Obviously, I've said that we've got wrestling down for April. I've got Star Wars stuff for May. So do you want to put it in June? Maybe look at some of these things then around the summertime?
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll make a note and I'll rearrange some bits and see if I can come up with some ideas for. But let us know what you think, if you've got any comedies that you think we should watch that. Basically, we want to see if these comedies still stand up 25 years later. Let's look at comedy from the year 2000.
Yeah.
Super. Right, okay, so as I said, next few weeks are going to be a little bit all over the shop. Next week, we've got the James Bond-a-thon. Stu sits down with a couple of super fans with Monty and Marsden. Sounds like a double act, doesn't it, Monty and Marsden? They'll be joining Stu to talk about James Bond in my absence. Then we're taking the first week of April off, unless, Stu, you've got any ideas on what you want to do then. I'm going to be jet lagged, so I'll be out of commission for the first week. We might put something out or might not. It's up to Stu what he wants to do.
Yeah, there might be something, but it depends. Especially around Easter time as well. It's going to be awkward, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, we might we'll be probably potentially missing the first. If not, just keep an eye on the socials and we'll let you know. Then we'll be doing wrestling stuff because it's WrestleMania month. So we'll be doing a question cast and then we'll be doing some wrestling nonsensey stuff for the rest of that month. And then the summer preview. So we'll be doing the next third of the May to August. But we're all on the socials anyway, at Cage Fighting Pod, or any emails to cagefightingpod@gmail.com if you've got anything. Make sure you subscribe to whatever podcatcher that you listen to us on, and a 5-star review would be tremendous. For this week, Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everyone. Don't be an ant bully.
It's goodbye from me too. And remember, be excellent to each other.